This is a story that came out in Anchorage Daily News, and it came out on March 30th, 2018. The silent fallout of the opioid plague, meth. Yeah, meth is now exploding across the country. It's almost like when one drug addiction rise, here comes another one. The drug is cheaper, more powerful, and more available than ever in Alaska, authorities say. Alaskans have been overdosing on it at dramatically increasing rates over the past decade. It pops up regularly in court cases tied to mayhem, ranging from car theft to murder. The drug is not heroin, it's meth. Alaska's opioid plague has attracted the attention of lawmakers and officials who have devoted money and focus to the problem. But don't discount a quieter twin plague. Law enforcement and public health authorities say methamphetamines is resurged in Alaska, and heroin and meth. Oh, wow. So they're saying heroin and meth are actually linked. So, in other words, it's more likely that if somebody got heroin, they also have meth. When troopers siege drugs in investigations, it is rare for us to see heroin without methamphetamine. So, these people are getting high on both the heroin and meth heavily, both. The head of Alaska Department Health Safety statewide drug enforcement unit, the amount by weight of methamphetamines coming into Alaska in 2016 was greater than heroin, according to the statewide drug report released by Alaska state troopers last year. And the rate of meth related overdose deaths shot up fourfold from 2008 to 2010 to 2014 to 2016. According to a public health bulletin in November, the heroin meth has become more potent, cheaper, and more accessible, says Jay Butler, the state's chief medical officer. It's kind of mirrors that heroin epidemic, he said. Purer product, greater potency, lower price. It's a deadly combination. For addicts, the drug pair, heroin is a downer, methamphetamines is an upper. Some dealers refer to them as slow fast. And Anchorage District Attorney Rich Allen. It's not unusual for addicts feeding their heroin addictions to turn to meth to get off of them, um, sometimes to steal or commit other crimes to support their habits. So they go on a down from the heroin, and whenever they want to go out and commit a crime, they get hyped up on meth. This place ain't never going to get these people off of drugs, ladies and gentlemen. That's what this means. People call being on heroin being on the nod because you're nodding off. If you want to be fully functional when you're using heroin, how do you do that? Duxbury said, you take a stimulant. 20 years ago, meth was a highly publicized and widespread scourge in Alaska and nationwide. It was mostly produced at home in small quantities by amateurs, said Allen, who was a prosecutor in the Matsu in early 2000 when the homemade meth phenomena was at its peak. In 2004, U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration officials identified 58 meth labs in Alaska. Wow, 58? According to news reports from the time, people making meth were mostly producing small, impure quantities using material that could be purchased at a Walmart. Yeah, they said the quality that comes across the border from Mexico is supposed to be a much purer quality. That's why there are still meth labs in the US, but not quite as many as there were like even 10 and 20 years ago. I call them Beavis and Butthead labs, a reference to the 1990s TV cartoon, on MTV. I remember that show. There were very few meth labs left in the state, law enforcement sources say. All right. A few things led to a big shift, Allen said. Legislature passed laws that made it much harder to buy over-the-counter precursors to make meth, like cold medicine. Oh, is that why they lock up the cold medicine? Actually, I see that even here in New Jersey, and I used to always wonder, why do they always got the cold medicine locked up? It's for the meth heads. Oh, I get it now. Medicine manufacturers also change formulas. The state made producing meth, any amount of meth, a high-level felony punishable by a long jail sentence, Allen said. In Alaska and elsewhere, the business changed. Larger, more sophisticated operations dealing in bigger volumes of drugs took control. By mail, by air. Yeah, I mean, that's how it's done today. Today, almost all meth in Alaska is manufactured in large professional labs in Mexico using ingredients from India or China, drug enforcement officials say. Much of it, so it gets into Alaska by being smuggled into California, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, and Nevada. So it usually ends up there first and then shipped by mail to Alaska or by body packing, a law enforcement term for smuggling drugs in body cavities. Okay, so that's how it gets to Alaska. In one recent case in Southeast Alaska, a 35-year-old Seattle man, and please, I'm not even going to pronounce that name. I don't know what the hell that is. Is that Russian or something? Was convicted on federal charges for conspiring to smuggle heroin and methamphetamines into Southeast Alaska communities. Ketchikan and Sitka, according to federal court documents. All right, so these are women. Body cavities, I take that they're vaginas. That's what I'm taking it as. If you think it's some other part of the body, let me know. But it sounds like when I hear body cavity and you're talking about women, it sounds like they put that shit in their vagina. Law enforcement officials say heroin is more often body packed than meth because the dosage needed to get high is smaller. A smaller volume is worth more money. Meth and heroin are both often sent through the mail, said Duxbury. Drug-sniffing dogs have helped authorities make major finds recently. In October, Cheng Sei-Chow, a 28-year-old Anchorage man, was arrested for sending $1.4 million worth of heroin and meth to Anchorage via packages sent from California. Now, I want you to look at that name. Look at that Chinese name. This is why I'm telling y'all, a lot of these Chinese citizens in this country are very much involved in all of this drug that is sweeping the nation. The fentanyl, as you can see, the meth, the heroin, they're deeply involved in it. There is no way all this stuff is coming from China, and the people here, the Chinese people here, are not involved. Don't believe that. They are very much involved in this shit. Okay, so the meth had been sewn into stuffed animals, according to court documents. In January, authorities arrested an Anchorage couple who had allegedly mailed more than 13 pounds of meth and heroin to a motel near the Anchorage airport where they were living. The total value of the drugs topped at $1.2 million on the streets. But even that represents a fraction of the meth passing through Anchorage every week, said Carson. Today's meth is much different from the drug circulating on Anchorage streets 20 years ago. In the past, methamphetamines on the street was 60 to 70% pure. It looked beige or orange, almost like lumpy drywall, said Allen, the prosecutor. Now the purity of meth tested by police is closer to 90%, said Jack Carson, a lieutenant with the Anchorage Police Department's Crime Suppression Division. It is clear and crystalline. Heroin is much more likely to kill. About 100 Alaskans died last year of opioid overdoses of all kinds, but more people are dying from meth too. The number of overdoses that have involved meth have increased fairly dramatically, said Butler, the public health chief. About a quarter of the people who died from a meth-related overdose had heroin in their system at the time of death, according to the report. And meth is coming up a lot. I'm starting to see this pop up a lot, which tells me this is another growing problem in this country. I am seriously, whenever I look for opioids now, I'm also getting a lot of meth stories that are popping up. And I think this country is already embarrassed enough from this opioid crisis. Now they got to come out and tell you that meth is exploding across the country too. Woo, it's bad, y'all. So people are mixing meth and heroin together. That's the new thing that's going on out here. I guess it's not so new. It's just probably the first time that I'm really talking about it, but I doubt if it's so new. But please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Another plague. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell twice and join me on Black Junction TV and blackspot.com. Peace, family.